Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you my review of an amazing video light, and that is the GVM SD300D. This is a bicolor light. Bicolor, I don't know if it really fully describes it because you can go anywhere between the ranges of 2700 all the way up to 7500 Kelvin, and so you can go from very warm to a much cooler light depending on your preference. But the headline here is that this is an LED spotlight that's putting out 300 watts of power, which is an incredible amount of power. Just the bare light itself puts out 12,000 lux at 1 meter, but if you use the included beauty dish, you're up to 65,000 lux at 1 meter. Now, it's rare that you have a spotlight that actually makes much of a difference outdoors, but here you can see with my set, I'm about 9 meters, 30 feet roughly away from the set, but you can see that there is plenty of light that is coming onto the set itself, coming from the single one of these spotlights. And so to be able to do that in daylight lighting is a pretty impressive amount of light. And right now, even at a distance of somewhere close to 8 meters and in evening light where there's still plenty of ambient light, you can see that there's still sufficient light to where it is really front illuminating both me and this whole set area where I'm working at. My actually main intent in acquiring it was to get it to use as a spotlight in the new auditorium. I'm going to use a couple of those, and I was impressed to find I didn't know if it would really put out sufficient kind of light because of the distance of both the height of the ceiling, which is about 26 feet, and the distance from the platform, the stage area that I wanted illuminated. But when we took it up on a lift, we found that it was a massive amount of light that was going to have no problems, even with one of them, putting out the light that we need. And so really, I'm doing two of them more about the dispersion of the light, but the amount of light that this is putting out is really truly impressive, and I'll probably have to dial both of them back significantly. But the amazing thing about that is even when it's floated up high, having full app control or DMX control means that I still retain full control of color temperature, the quantity of light that I put out, which is going to be very useful in that kind of application. Let's take a look at what you get in the box. So inside the case, you have got the light itself, which I will note for being such a high-powered light is actually really lightweight. You can see standard Bowens type mount here that we'll get to in just a second. And at the back, a few things to note. This is the connection port for power here. You've got DMX control, which is important for a light that could be used in the setting that I'm going to use it, which could be as a remotely controlled spotlight, power on and off. And then you've got a mode button, which will control the different aspects that you control with the standard dial here, which also can be depressed in the center. Standard yoke here that can be attached on the top of light stands or mounted in some other fashion, and obviously you can then set your position and lock that into place. And I will note that the locking knobs here are very sturdy and feel like you're going to get a really stable end result after you've locked that in place, which is important. Now, part of why the light itself can be relatively compact is that the power brick is not. And so by the time you've connected these components together, you've got a serious chunk, though in my application, I'm going to hide that up on top of a beam inside a auditorium and be able to hide it away there. But that is something to consider. Now, it comes with two accessories here. One of those is just a simple diffuser that you can screw on in that fashion. It also comes with a beauty dish that you can go through the standard mount and lock that into place once it's rotated in there. And so you can have that and thus, kind of control the light a little bit through that means. And obviously both of these included components can be used in conjunction with each other. All of it obviously fits easily into the included platform. So as noted, there is full app control of the light, and that's obviously a valuable thing regardless of how you're going to interact with it. The app itself is pretty simple and straightforward, but it does give you the option of just a nice wheel, on-screen wheel for going steplessly through the full output of the light. So it's not a stepping, at 10% intervals. It is a stepless increase all throughout the range of light. And as you can see, there really is a huge variation about the amount of current draw that you're doing, from as little as having the light powered on at about 12 watts of draw, according to my Jackery Explorer 1000, and then all the way up to about 340 watts of draw at maximum power. Now, also in the app is another wheel that allows you that full control over the color temperature. And as you can see from this chart, unlike some lights where I've seen that are bicolor, to where you really have to be kind of in the perfect intersection of the two color temperatures to get the full output. While there is some variation here, you can see you're getting a massive amount of output from this light, basically regardless of where you are and the color temperature. There also is a range of effects on there, about 8 different effects that you can access through the app. And maybe for your application, that's going to be useful. Depending on your situation, it's less necessary in the environment that I'm going to do, but who knows, maybe in some kind of a drama type situation, something like that might be useful and we might utilize it at that point. Obviously, having the DMX control is also going to be useful if you're putting the light in an accessible position, but the fact that you can access that more simply from an app is going to be incredibly useful. And so at the end of the day, this is a light, I think, that stands out, number one, for the quantity of the light that it puts out, for having some great amount of control over it. And I think at the end of the day, it also comes down to having a great price point for this quantity of light. And it's not an inexpensive light. It's running about $600 US, but when you compare it to some other brands that have a similar kind of output, this is a massive amount of light, and it's a very good price point for that kind of quantity of light. I'm also impressed by how compact the package is when you consider how much light that it's actually putting out. And the fact that it's compact and lightweight makes it a really useful thing for what I'm going to do, and that I'm going to be mounting these from beams. And so the less that has to go into the mounting hardware, the less I have to beef that up. And so I'm hoping that these are going to be very useful for my application. Maybe something similar for yours, or if you're just using it for more of a typical studio type setting. I am using it outdoors right now, but that's only because I have that Jackery unit to come out and power it with, because there, unfortunately, what's not here is any other kind of power option outside of that AC adapter. And so, no V-mount type battery or ability to run it off some kind of power bank, unless you have something that actually has an AC outlet on it. And so that's one limitation to be aware of, but obviously I'm blessed to have the Jackery unit, and so it's allowing me some flexibility for this kind of mobile set for it here today. But in many settings, I think where you're going to be most comfortable with this is in a studio environment, and really only if you need a massive amount of light. And there's an even more extreme 600 watt version of it. But the amount of light that this is putting out really is pretty killer. And so I think it also would be very useful for various kinds of stage lighting, for plays, things like that. I'm Dustin Abbott, and if you look in the description down below, you can find a linkage there where you can get more information about the light itself, or some buying links if you'd like to purchase one. And of course, beyond that, there's linkage to follow myself or Craig on social media, to become a patron, to check out the new channel, Let the Light In TV. You can also purchase channel merchandise, and if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.